Welcome back, everyone. You may be surprised by what we get into today and what we find out. So, if you are writing or doing something creative and you are inspired by a fragment of something you see, an idea, a concept, you can start from that idea as a seed and you can go into a project or like writing a story or a piece of art based on that idea. But what if you've really got nothing? You've got no inspiration. There's nothing that you saw that's specific. How do you go and create something ex nihilo, just out of nothing? Well, today we're going to talk about that. We're going to be using Krita, an open source digital painting tool, and we're going to have some fun with it. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to go with the A5 600 ppi. That's pretty big. We want a lot of pixels because we're going to want a lot of room. We're going to sort of create a mind map here. So you see, if we switch this to landscape, we've got almost 5,000 pixels wide and about 3,500 pixels high. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to click create. And I'll mention you can do this with a mouse, but I have a Wacom Intuos here that I'm working with. So basically, you're going to want to start as close to the center, let's say, and you'll want to start very broadly. And this is something that I've created mind maps before that didn't really occur to me, but the idea is you want to start with a very broad idea, so don't start getting too far into the specifics. Start with something broad. So for today, I'm going to take something random I just thought of. Let's say like injury. So what kind of injuries are there? So let's say I want to write a short story here, and an injury is kind of like it could be an interesting prompt for a story. But the idea here is we're not having a specific outcome in mind. We want to try and discover something. So I can zoom in here. Let's say a fall. That's a kind of injury. Head. You could have a head injury. You can slip. Slip is kind of related to fall, but that's okay. Animal, right? There are animal injuries. And I'm going to keep going here and just start filling some things out. And another nice trick, I'll just mention, I'm usually doing this on a big notepad with a Sharpie and colored pencils. But I'm demonstrating in Krita today for people who like to work digitally. This is another way to do it. And if you want to save paper, of course, that's fine as well. And Krita is a free tool as well. So, you don't really need to pay a lot of money to use this. You can install it on pretty much any computer. But one of the things, of course, that's a benefit of using digital as opposed to paper. And I would say paper is probably better, the tactile feel of it. But let's just say, we're in the digital world here. In Krita, I can hit the T key and I can move this around because let's say I'm running out of room there. Or I could do Control T and actually, resize it a little bit if I wanted to. And then just hit Enter and hit the T key again, move it around, and then hit the B key to get back to my brush. And the brush I'm using is just a basic marker. All right, so we're going to keep going here. I'm going to jump on the animal node here. Bite. All right, so I've got a few nodes going here. I'm not going to do much more just for the sake of the demonstration, but you could set a timer for like 20 minutes or so to really try to get as many ideas out of your head as possible. This is a basic mind map for those of you who are familiar with the idea. The idea of brainstorming is that you throw a bunch of stuff down and you don't erase anything, you don't edit or editorialize or try to change what's just coming out of your head without trying to basically mess with the flow. And then now in the aftermath, you can kind of go in and figure a few things out. So let's do that now. So I'm going to switch to this brush here, And I'm going to change to this yellow color here and increase the pixel size a little bit. So what you want to do now is start to make some connections. So the value of this, because it seems kind of random, you just start with something so broad and then you move out from it, is that interesting connections start to get made here. So you see on the head node here, I had ego, right? Because let's say you bruise your ego. That's a kind of injury, right? I'm actually going to reduce the opacity on the brush now because we're highlighting. So there, that's better. So yeah, ego, you can bruise your ego. So that is actually a great prompt for a story, because stories of people who have failed with something, or have just gone through something difficult and are pulling themselves back. That's always a great thing to start a story with, or it's a good destination for the story because people are interested in that kind of thing. If you just have a character who's winning the whole time and everything's going well, or a character who is just has all their power right from the beginning of the story, it's not very interesting. And the other interesting thing here is memories that come out. So without having really any idea or any plan, I had this memory I remember of a yogi on YouTube who would make yoga videos, and then she had an injury. She was out jogging with her dog and tripped and actually bruised a bone, and that was the first time I ever heard of this type of injury. Like, I didn't know you could bruise a bone, but that was actually what she did. So you can see now there's a connection from, we have bruised ego and then bruised bone. I'm starting to see a story coming in there, because you have someone like who's a yogi. Uh, a yogi, I presume, would be someone who is of higher status in the yoga world. So she could bruise her ego and bruise a bone. Already some ideas are coming out of that. That could be an interesting story. And then here, I was out in the country a long time ago, and I got scratched by an old mama cat. So that could be an interesting launch for a story. When I was a kid, I slipped in the shower and hit my head. Some interesting stuff is coming out of here, so that there could be an interesting autobiographical detail there. The idea here is you're starting to make connections. And the fun part about using a tool like Krita is that you can come in here and you can get different colors, and so you can kind of highlight things. And if you want to make some different connections, you can use different colors. That color was too similar. Maybe we could use kind of like a green. So anyway, yeah, lots of fun here. So what I would do from this point is you could open up Emacs, let's say, and you could start writing down some ideas. Yogi trips, bruises bone and ego. And so that is actually probably going to turn into a short story right there, because there's so much there. You've got the yogi. Maybe she's, at the top of her game, and then she bruises her bone, and, that bruises her ego because she can't get out there doing yoga. There's a dog involved. Maybe there's a boyfriend. Maybe there's some drama. Some things are happening there. Working on farm, scratched by mama cat. Then all of a sudden, for some reason, maybe there was something with that cat, and now the person is dizzy and slipping and falling. Something interesting there. And if I had kept working on this mind map and took it into more nodes and more directions, and again using something like Krita here, as I mentioned, you can reduce this down quite a bit, and at full resolution here, you can really keep going in all sorts of directions. You could even carry this off into like a second central node. One that's sometimes something I'll do is I'll have two separate areas. So we might have injury on one side, and on the other side, like a complementary idea. And so if I had actually gone through and made like an even bigger map, like took a whole 20 minutes, I might have actually had 4 or 5 different ideas here. And the idea is you'll home in on one of those, and from there you can begin your story or your essay or your autobiographical narrative, whatever it is you're working on. You can really start going, and you can see there the idea is that this started from absolutely nothing, and now it's become something, and you've got something to work on. So that's about it. Basic mind mapping and brainstorming strategy there. But I like how you can do this in Krita. I like how you can use your open source tools and have some fun with this. But there you go. I'm going to leave the video right there. If you have any comments or questions, by all means, let me know, and I will see you all next time.